Welcome to video 1 of a 3-part video series concerning the National Water Model Learning Module found on Hyrolearn.org. My name is Easton Perkins. I am a student at Brigham Young University and a research assistant in the Hydroinformatics Research Lab. Today I will be going over how to complete exercise number 1 of the National Water Model Notebook number 3, titled Subsetting and Exporting Forecast to CSV Files. To get started, open up a browser and search Hyrolearn.org. This will take you to their main page where you can then search in their search bar the National Water Model. Simply click on the National Water Model icon to begin. Your page should now look something like this. This is the National Water Model Learning Module. This video assumes that you've already gone through the introduction, have gained a brief understanding for what the National Water Model is, have read through the brief history of it, why it was made, and why it's so important for us today. This video assumes that you've also gone through section 1, as well as the beginning of section 2 of the National Water Model forecasts, and thus have a basic understanding for what a short range, medium range, long range forecast is, as well as what the analysis and assimilation period is of the National Water Model. This video also assumes you've gone through learning activity number 1, which is exploring the National Water Model interactive map, as well as worked through the first few learning activities and exercises in this second activity and learning activity titled Accessing the National Water Model through Python code. If you've already done the previous first 2 notebooks and gone through the exercises, this page should look very familiar, as well as in my previous video tutorials. If this is your first time, read through this page and this will get you set up on Jupyter Hub Notebook, as well as making a Hydroshare account so that you can have access to our Python scripts. Assuming you've done so, we'll click here. Here's Hydroshare. The instructions explain how to access it, but we'll click in Open with Quasi Jupyter Hub. And we'll get it set up. Now, if your interface doesn't look exactly like this, that's all right. As long as you see these 4 links somewhere with the National Water Model Notebook number 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you're in the right place. Alrighty, let's get started. Today's video is focusing in on the National Water Model Notebook number 3, subsetting. Click here, and it should open you up to the page. Welcome to the Notebook number 3, subsetting and exporting forecasts to CSV files. We'll first begin by scrolling here to the bottom, where we will find the exercises. There are 3 of them in this notebook. Exercise number 1 states, try subsetting a forecast that you download from the National Water Model Google Storage bucket linked to it at the beginning of the notebook. Choose a short-range channel forecast for any day. You'll need to download 18 forecast files and put them in your forecast files folder that you created earlier. A screenshot of the short-range forecast files that were output on September 19, 2018 at midnight UTC is shown below. Now you should be able to use the netcdf subset function and the streamflow to CSV functions to subset those files and export their streamflows forecast to a CSV. Alright, hopefully that makes sense. If you feel confident, go give it a try. Go run the above code and change a few things to get it going. If not, we're going to run through it now. Alrighty, so there's a couple things that we need to understand. This video assumes that you've already ridden through all the explanations of what the code does, run through the code, and given all this stuff a try. There's great descriptions provided, and honestly, anyone could learn it themselves. But this video is, I'm briefly going to go over what each cell does. So, the beginning here, we have something that's pretty awesome actually. The purpose of this notebook is to go over how to subset and export forecasts to CSV files. Now, why is that important? So basically what we're saying is we're going to be able to use code to go in and grab all the data output from the National Water Model. Once we get that data, we're going to export it to a CSV file, which is awesome because then we could put that data in Excel, where in Excel we can manipulate it, make graphs of it. As we know, Excel is a super powerful tool. So what we're going to learn here is super important and can really give us some great tools to work with in the future. All right, this notebook is also going to give us 2 ways to do it. Now there's 2 repositories or places where all the data is at. The first place is something called NOAA Operational Model Archive and Distribution System, or NOMADS. NOMADS is great. The one shortfall of it is that it only has data for today or current data as well as the previous day's data, and that's it. So it goes back to yesterday's data. And the first part of this code goes through and it goes and grabs current data from today, or we can even go back to yesterday using NOMADS, which is awesome, and it works. Now, what happens if we want to go back and analyze a particular storm event or a hurricane or anything like that? What if we want to do that? Well, NOMADS is going to help us because we can only go back the day before. So there is another storage database known as Google Storage Bucket. Now this has data of the National Water Model stored all the way back to September of 2018. So it goes back almost 4 years now, which is awesome. So this data storage base is going to be something super valuable for us because it's going to allow us to go back, get data, and be able to make analyze data that we wouldn't have been able to do before. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this link, and it's going to take us to the Google Cloud Platform. And as we can see, the very first data that was stored here was in 2018, September 17th. So that was the very first data that was put in here and was stored. And then it just goes up by day after that. So there's tons and tons of data stored here. Okay, so we're going to come back here and we are going to go through the code. We're going to hit run here. This is just going to import all the packages that we need. This is our functions. This should look pretty familiar to the other notebooks that we've done. Briefly going over it, there is some new things here. The first one is just going to go grab the URL from NOMADS, right, and give a short range, medium range, long range, depending on what we want. Yeah, and it's going to go get the forecast file. So we've seen that before. Now, as far as new functions, we have a net CDF subset function. And basically this is a subset is basically just taking a small portion of the huge amount of data that there is, right, and subsetting it or pulling it out, just that small portion. So we're going to be able to pull stuff out of the Google storage, which has tons and tons of data, as well as a stream flow to CSV, because our end goal here, right, is to transform the file format or of all the data into a CSV file, so then we can use Excel. So that's a short explanation for what's going on here. Now, super important here is we need to create a folder in our Jupyter file browser, and it's coded, the name of it should be forecast files with a uppercase F in both of forecast and files. And I've already created one. You can see it here. But it's super simple how to create one. You just come up here to the plus sign, hit plus, and you would just type in forecast files and hit enter, and there you go. Now, of course, I've already done this, so yeah, I'm just going to delete that for now. All right, so now that you have your file, we need to go in manually into here, and we need to grab a short range forecast. Now we know that the short range forecast goes 18 hours in the future, so there's going to be 18 files that we need to download to our computer and then put into our forecast files folder, so then we can run the code and it will be able to grab that data and put it in a CSV file. So we're going to come here. You can pick any date you want. Now, a minor disclaimer, if you choose an older date, like in the 2018, 2019 category, the variables have changed over time slightly. So here in the streamflow to CSV function, there's something called the drop variables. Now this thing is going to drop variables for us that we don't want. Now the older ones don't have CRS, so you're going to delete CRS from this if you're using an older file. Today we're going to be using a newer one, so we'll keep it, but just keep that in mind. If your code is not working or is throwing an error, you might just need to delete that variable CRS. Okay, but we're going to leave it for today. So we have it going, and this should all work now. We'll hit run here one more time. It was freaking out a little bit. Okay, so we got that running. Now what we're going to do in here is we're going to come back and we're going to look up, just for the sake of this exercise, I'm just going to put National Water Model dot, we'll look up a date in 2020. And we'll pick 2020 January 11th. Yep, perfect. Okay, we're here. Now it has everything, right? It has your analysis and assimilation that happened for that day, has the long range forecast, even has some Hawaii's forecast. It has medium range forecast. So of course, for this exercise, we're interested in the short range, so we're going to click on that. And here we are. So it has all the short range forecasts it produced that day. Now we know that short range forecasts produce hourly, so there's 24 of them. And in each of those 24 hourly forecasts, there's it goes forward 18 hours. So these are there's a lot of data here. Pretty incredible what the National Water Model does. All right, so all we're going to do here is we're going to come in and we're going to start downloading these. So we're just going to do the first 18. So the first forecast that it put out for January 1st of 2020, excuse me. So we're just going to come over here and we're going to hit download. And so you see it's downloading down there, and then we're going to come down and we're going to hit download again, so on and so forth until you get to the 18th hour. So I'm just going to go through and do that real quick, and I'll be back. All right, perfect. It is all done. So now we're going to come back here, and we're going to go to our forecast files. Now I've already done this, but you're going to download your forecast files down to, or upload it, excuse me, to your file. So the way you do that is you go to upload files, open up your file. Until you're here, you're going to hit upload, and you're going to come in here, and you can see how here's all I downloaded data files for the short range forecast on January, I believe the 17th it was, or the 9th, January 9th, 2020. And you're just going to select all of them and hit open, and it'll put it in that folder. But I've already done this. So make sure you do that. Make sure the folder's empty before you do that too, because you don't want to put multiple data files that it's going to be reading. So we're going to come down here and we're going to hit run here, set variables. Super important for this exercise, do not hit run here, because this cell goes and gets the forecast name from Nomads. And if you do that, it's going to put more data than we need. So don't run this cell. I'm going to come in here, hit run here. It's going to set up our forecast files, hit run here. And, oh, it looks like we're running an error. Let me go fix that real quick. All right, I believe I fixed the error. I just had too many files over here. So we ran that one. And we'll run this one. And it looks like it's going to work. Yep. So you can go back and forth where you're at in your files in the Jupyter Notebook by up here. So I can go to contents. If I click here, it gets me to forecast files, and you can click back on contents, gets you back to this main file directory. Okay, so we just ran this last cell, and look, if I click on that, it brings up our CSV file. We did it. That was the goal of this exercise. So good job, guys. You can see it has our 18-hour forecast. It has the data, streamflow forecast. It got everything we need. So that is awesome. In future exercises, you'll see us export this. It is in a CSV file, but we'll actually export it to a CSV file and then play around with it in Excel. So pretty awesome stuff. Hopefully this made sense. That was exercise number 1 of notebook number 3.